So I had this idea. I was going to do a piece that incorporated a clock. Hopefully finding a secondhand clock. I needed something to be kind of like flush to the wall that I could actually add hanging wires to. And I also need to be able to take it apart. I also really wanted something that was like wood because plastic is just so annoying to work with because I don't know if like the color is gonna scratch off. Anyway, so I've looked everywhere and no one is selling clocks other than Walmart. And I did notice that there were reviews for different clocks saying, oh, the second hand doesn't make a ticking noise, it's smooth and stuff. And so I'm like, oh, that's something that I never actually thought about before. Maybe I should get one that is also smooth and doesn't make sound. Which made me even more nervous to buy a clock off of a shelf. And so I ended up just getting the clock part. My idea was to have layers of like paintings on each hand, turning at different speeds. And I wasn't sure if a clock part would be able to have enough energy to turn something like that, or if the paper would bend and like rub against each other. So I just wanted to test it out and see. So I did that with cardboard. Look at this thing. Okay, so I tried it with just regular cardboard. The whole thing is spinning. I left it on for 24 hours. I just wanted to write numbers on it just to see if the weight of the paper or the balance of the paper would cause it to struggle. Not that it has to keep time, but this was my way of finding out, like, okay, is this thing going to actually turn? And it seems to work. It is 1:47 right now, so we're right in there. Perfect. Like, can you believe that? I have just been overjoyed by this silly little thing that I made. It tells time. There is an issue. Well, kind of. It's a concern. Which is that there is a bit of an imbalance. Like, this is sort of like, I don't know why. I don't know what kind of effect having a painting rubbing against another painting forever would do. So my plan is I'm going to have the background is going to be sky, the second hand is going to be birds, and the minute hand is going to be like flowers. And then there will be static layers in the front. So they'll have the owl and then a mountain. Like this will be like water or something and reflecting the sky. And this will just constantly be changing, although it will be so gradual, I realize now, that you wouldn't really notice it unless you had it. So that's kind of a bummer, but I'm hoping people will understand what's happening. The tricky part is the bird section, the second hand one, because right now I have it set up so that the second hand is the smallest one. It just seemed like the easiest for me to test it out, but thought that it would make way more sense for the birds to be in the sky. So this one will probably be smaller and the second hand will be bigger. And in order for that to make any sense, because it is on top and I can't change that, it will have to be clear. I could use acetate. I have acetate. Problem is, it's probably too flip-floppy. It's acetate, so I assume that would probably turn yellow over time, right? Obviously glass isn't going to work because it's too heavy. Possibly art resin. So I think that's going to be the scariest test after this, is whether or not I can make a disc. Just pour out some art resin. It's not supposed to turn yellow, so... And also whether or not holding a layer of art resin a millimeter or so away from the layer underneath it, if that's going to make the layer underneath it look cloudy, blurry, difficult to see details in. I don't know. But I decided that I have a couple of these frames that I don't use very often. So I thought I would cannibalize one for the glass. And we're going to have to hand build a frame for it, which means that I'm going to get the wood that I wanted. So yeah, that's the plan. I am so excited. And I wanted to do a picture of an owl asleep while the sun kind of rises and sets behind it. And since the prompt itself was time, it kind of made me think of this kind of anxiety people feel, especially like on Sundays. They call them like the Sunday scaries or whatever. Or I feel it a lot at the end of each week, where it feels like nothing has happened in the last week or month or year. and it's just gone. And don't really remember a whole lot about it, and it kind of gives me this weird kind of like anxiety of time is just passing by and I'm not doing enough, or I'm not really living. So instead of just doing a clock painting of things happening and time passing, I wanted the owl to be asleep, but it also looks like he has mushrooms growing out of it. And I like to use mushrooms sometimes for expressing a feeling of stagnation, of like not really going anywhere, being a little bit of like the living dead kind of thing. So perhaps this owl is actually quite busy internally, having thoughts, having dreams or whatever. On the outside, he's kind of stagnating. He's not really living life. And I was going to have birds kind of moving in the background to show all of these other creatures that are living their lives and being productive and having cool experiences and things. And this owl is just kind of stuck in his head, and he's not really experiencing time as he could be. And I do like leaving things kind of open to interpretation, because it could just be like the feeling of having to work your life away, or the feeling of holding yourself back and not really experiencing the spice of life, or denying yourself pleasures that other people are experiencing, or like the fear of missing out or whatever. Like it could mean so many different things. And I just wanted to use owl, fungus, time passing to convey those things and leave space for those kinds of interpretations, you know? So I did try pouring the art resin into a circle. When it did dry, it was very floppy in reality. I'm kind of surprised actually, because it does feel so hard when it's on a painting, but maybe, I don't know. It was not sturdy enough for my purposes, so I had to start again with brainstorming. Here's what's going on. Workspace disaster. Feels like it's a million years later. So I hit a bunch of snags in my clock project. One was I need to build some kind of frame for it. And we went to the hardware store, and I was standing in the wood aisle. Immediately, all of my confidence just melted into the floor, because I was like, do I really want to buy a $20 piece of wood that I am then going to have to cut at 45-degree angles and glue and nail and sand and fill and stain and somehow make a groove to fit the glass into? Or I could spend a little more and go and buy a memory box. And then all I'd have to work out is how to cut a hole in the back to fit the clock work through. I just really didn't see myself doing all of that cutting and sanding again. So I got the memory box, and it was buy one, get one for free. So I have 2 memory boxes now. The other problem that I was having with this project is the clear layer. I was recommended by some mentors that self-adhesive laminating sheets are technically non-yellowing, and according to the internet, it does say like right on the front package that it's acid-free. I don't know if that's just another buzzword that people have co-opted to mean nothing, but most of the ones on the internet do say they're yellowing resistant, which is honestly at this point good enough for me. There's a sticky side and there's a stiff side, and I could draw my little birds with pencil crayon, and then I could attach them to the sticky side and then do the lamination thing. I think during the time that I was putting the birds on, there was some dust or something, and the pockets around the birds just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I tried to remedy that by cutting out a shape of like wheel spokes. And this experiment just didn't go well, and I spent so much time drawing those little birds. And here's the problem. So here's some footage of it assembled. It looks really cool. Unfortunately, we're having this problem where even though the papers themselves are quite straight, the way they're sitting on the clock, they seem to tilt in some way, and I can't figure out why. It moves until it doesn't, because either the second hand gets caught on the minute hand, or the minute hand starts rubbing on the hour hand. So I'm trying some different things. So here's the solution for the second hand, because it was the one that was bothering me the most. I'm gonna have to remake it because in the process it has gotten kind of warped and bent, stuck a bit of mat board and poked through a piece of tape and stuck it down. Now I'm not going to use a piece of tape. I might poke a piece of just paper and then affix it here. It's just weirdly splotchy. I did try one where I stuck a piece of paper down and put gel medium, like pouring medium, over it. It probably won't be too bad. Nerve-wracking Bart is trying to cut a mat by hand with a craft knife and a ruler. Gotta do what you gotta do. But looks okay. I haven't actually plugged it in yet with a battery, but this is kind of my solution for now. Flowers again in the middle to obscure the connection point. And there's a lot more space between them, but they're still tilted or lopsided, and I don't know why. There's something about the mechanism that's like not quite straight. But I think it could